So, Power 40 Scientific Trading School, learning about the price sequence movement and how to track it using our fib projections. So, we are using scientific observation rules, experimentation rules, hypothesis rules, all right, and testing of hypothesis, then drawing of conclusion. That is what scientific trading is about. So now let's begin with our observation. In observation, we want to find where we will identify as our fib zero, which is our starting point. Fib zero is when we come into the market. Okay, the very first thing we observe, forming a pattern that we can identify with our rule, which is fib zero. So now this very lesson is going to show us where we had an observation today, being the 11th of September, okay, and what happened immediately afterwards. So first of all, when we have an observation, next thing is we want to have an hypothesis. Based on our observation, then we want to experiment and then test. Then we'll draw a conclusion. So let's look at what happened here. All right, so this was the beginning of our observation. We created our fib zero level at 3625. Okay, then fib zero level, this is a self fib zero. Immediately after we created our 3625 fib zero level for sell, we projected it downwards to fib L. All right, so this is from fib 0 to fib L. Now, our rule says that whenever price comes into any of the levels, price is expected to react to either the fib 0 or the fib 0 10 times 5L, which the opposite to be fib 0 10 times 5 arrow, or price will break the fib 0 10 times 5L and then go to test the fib 0 to fib L. So right here, this is our fib L. So before price came down here, look at what happened. This was where we drew this before all of these events happened, okay? We now found our new fib 0, which is a converse, okay, of the previous fib 0. So this was a sell fib 0, then we found our buy fib 0. Now, whenever we have an observation to show that we have observed any pattern, we are going to have to draw our triangle. All right, so our triangle is a projection of immediate points where price is expected to react when moving in sequence, because we say price moves in sequence and we want to justify that move, okay, as a basis upon which we will take our entries. So right now, the first observation was that price went, okay, towards the fib arrow of buy fib 0, but price encountered the fib 0 10 times 5 arrow and rejected it. And our rule says that insofar as price could not break our fib 0 10 times 5 arrow, it implies that price is not going to go above there. All right, insofar as price rejects it, price is not going to go above that. So that becomes our hypothesis, which means we want to test to see whether price will finally go above it or price will stay below it. Okay, so now let's see what happened. So the first time price reacted, price rejected and came back to break our fib 0, which is our buy fib 0. So since price has come back below our buy fib 0, it suggests that price is going to stay on a downward end. Okay, and moreover, price has not tested our sell fib L, okay, yet, or tested after creating our sell fib 0. So we have three places price needs to test. Price needs to test our sell fib 0, price needs to test our sell fib 0 to 10 times 5L, and also price needs to test our sell fib 0 to sell fib L. Okay, so three levels price needs to test, which ordinarily suggests that price has to come back to this level, which gives us our first entry projection. The moment price goes below our buy fib 0 to its 10 times 1 level, all right? Because we are looking forward to placing a buy entry if we saw the first sign of price break above what? Here buy fib 0 to 10 times 5 arrow. Okay, if we see the first sign of break, we'll place all our entries below down to the last SL, which is our exit level at the 10 times 1 of the fib 0 level. Okay, So which would have meant that we would have been buying if price had broken here. But now since price did not break here, we are going to be selling when price shows the ability to break, okay, and continue with the momentum below, sell or buy fib 0. All right. And it means until price breaks the buy fib 0, first 10 times 5, 10 times 1 level, which is our SL level for the buy fib 0 level. Okay, until price breaks it, we'll start selling below that. So let's look at the first reaction. First reaction was price came because it is 10 times 1, okay? So which means that it's only 10 pips from the buy fib 0. So where's buy fib 0? It is standing at 3633.39, which means that the 10 times 1 will be 3632.39. So let's look at price coming down to 332. Okay, 3632. Okay, 0.39. You see, price came down first and rejected it. Price did not break it immediately. Okay, so now that rejection, price failed to go above 10 times our buy fib 0. Okay, price failed to go above our buy fib 0 and return back. All right, so at the moment price has gone back here, we will now place our first sell stop entry. Okay, our first sell stop entry at 3632. Okay, that will now be our first sell stop entry. The moment price rejected it the first time, went above our first sell stop entry. Then we now have other sell limit entries. The moment price activates it, we now have sell limit entries, one at the buy fib 0. Okay, and then we'll have the next one coming 20 pips afterwards. Okay, which is 10 times 2 arrow. All right, then we'll do 10 times 4 arrow. Okay, and lastly we do 10 times 6 arrow. You can see that, right? That would be all our entries for a sell because we've now got our projection. So now for the first time, price gives us only the 10 times 1 L of the buy fib 0. All right, the 10 times 1 L of the buy fib 0. And then also gives us, okay, no, that's the only entry. Then comes towards our first 50 pips. So where's our first take profit is 50 pips, okay? So from 3632 to 3627. All right, 3627. So let's look at that. So this was it, our first 50 pips, price given our first 50 pips. Our next take profit is our lower levels for fib sequence where price has to come and test. Okay, so the fib 0, fib 10 times 5, okay, L and the fib L. Now we have 3 levels of take profit here, and price does what? First rejected, okay, our fib 0. You can see that after first test, price rejected and went back to our sell fib 0, 10 times 5 arrow. Okay, now see price again going here, rejected. It shows price is not willing to go above it. How many attempts? 1, 2, 3. Price could not break it. Then the next attempt, price tries to break it but rejects it. At this point again, you know that you're going to start selling. Okay, so first you place your next entry at 3631. 3629.06, because that will be from the 10 times 5 arrow level here that price has shown rejection of. So that will be a sell stop once price is here. Then you now have other entries. First entry at 3630. Then you now have other entries spread all the way up to our fib 0, buy fib 0. Okay, spread all that up. So now price finally picks this entry. Let's look at that again. And our take profit is here. You can see that starting from sell fib 0, then sell fib L, or rather our sell fib 0 to 10 times 5 L, and then our sell fib 0 to fib L. Okay, these are our 3 levels of take profit. Then now what the price do? Price goes clean into all the take profit levels. Okay, now as soon as price comes down to where our sell fib L, look at that. Okay, what happened? Price rejected it. So this rejection shows that price is not willing to go below our fib L. You see, if we did not put our observation here, we could not have seen how price will react later. So now this is confirming our hypothesis that price again is not willing to go below where our sell fib L. Okay, so price is now only going to stay between the 2 key levels that price has shown rejection First key level is our 10 times 5 arrow of our buy fib 0, and the next key level is our sell fib L. You can see that, right? So let's measure the total pips from 3615 all the way up to 3638. So that is about 200 pips. Okay, so now price will stay in between these two levels until one of these levels break. That will determine our next direction. But now let's see what happens. So price bounced again. Let's look at that. The next time price came back to retest sell fib L, that was a rejection. Okay, then when price went towards our sell fib 0, 10 times 5 L, okay, that was also a rejection. So let's look at where that was. That was 3625 to 3620.22, 3620.22. Okay, so this was it, 3620. See all the rejections here until price came down below it and finally went back above it here. So two places price shows respect for: our sell fib L and then also our sell fib 0 to 10 times 5 L. All right, so now price broke it and finally put us back into moving towards our buy fib 0, 10 times 5 arrow. So let's look at what price did. Price came all the way up and engaged with it. So let's look at it. Still could not break it on first attempt, despite price went to test our what? Buy fib arrow. You can see that now. Our buy fib arrow and rejected it, now telling us again that price is not willing to go above our buy fib arrow. Coming back down, rejected and closed below was our 10 times 5 arrow. You can see that for our buy. So right now, it means that we are going to be selling below our 10 times 5 arrow of buy fib 0. You can see that. And then we are going to be buying above our sell fib L. So now let's see finally how that's played out. So multiple times, this was where our buy fib 0, 10 times 5 arrow is. You can see price rejected again after returning from there. You see that? Okay, price rejected. And this was a news move. Of course, this is the PPI news. You can see even the PPI news did not change our sequence, price sequence move. So the news, which is a fundamental event, does not alter the scientific structure that we have observed of price sequence. You can see how that plays out. Then all of these post-news events, okay, still shows respect. So this was a retest of our 10 times 5 arrow for our buy fib 0 level and rejection. Then price is struggling to go above it. You can see the first attempt, price breaks it. This is the first break, and it becomes a false break as price returns below it. So now price is again going back to engage with it. So why this is happening, we already have another level that is being engaged with, so that we don't lose sight of that. So that is our buy fib 0. So let's mark that out. Buy fib 0, that's 3633.46. That's our buy fib 0, 3633.46. So this is where our buy fib 0 is. And these are all the rejections. Okay, first price returns below it, comes back above it. So I haven't come back above it, price has stayed above it. All right, so now price is now ranging between our buy fib 0 and our buy fib 0 10 times 5 arrow. So two strong sequence levels where price is engaging. So now it's like the day has reset. Okay, the structure has rewind and is repeating. Price is back to where it started, where we had drawn our last observation. So we are still within the structure that we had observed initially, and it confirms our hypothesis that price was not willing to stay above our buy fib 0 10 times 5 arrow. This is a sequence confirmation, a proof that our sequence theory is valid and price moves in sequence. You can see how accurate, how exact, how precise this has been. And applying this to your trading will give you control, mastery, and accuracy in your entry projections. You want to do this as often as possible every day to see that you achieve your daily finance goal. We've set the goal for all members of our community, Scientific Trading School, to be $20 per day multiplied by 2. So you want to target achieving this with a minimum of $100 trading capital. So if you have $100 trading capital, come, let's talk. We'll fund your account and then we'll show you how to do this consistently daily. Welcome.